Gravity Falls for me, and for many people, remains one of my favorite childhood cartoons. There are many different theories on it, but for some reason I have not seen the theory anywhere that I will now tell. Considering how many crazy theories about Gravity Falls exist, and how picky these crazy theorists can be about trifles. In addition, there were a lot of facts pointing to this theory. Did Bill really win? You may ask why I waited so long and decided to write about this theory only now, because the cartoon ended 6 years ago. Let me explain. I used to think that the ending was merged by the writers to please the Disney story rules, good always triumphs over evil. After the first viewing, I already wanted to puke a rainbow from how well everything ended. Bill is merged by the power of friendship, the city is restored, Sten completely returned the memory. In general, after the series, there was a feeling of deep disappointment, and from this I didn't want to look for some kind of hidden underlying reason at all. But then one day I noticed a fact that everyone had in mind, but which everyone stubbornly ignored after the release of the final series. As I understand it, despite all the madness of theorizing that arises in the minds of people, no one in their thoughts thinks to go against what they see. We were clearly shown Bill's death, although with a hint of rebirth, but still death, right? In general, it was the same with me until I rethought the last 3 episodes. Maybe it's silly, but I think that Hirsch and maybe the other writers left small details in plain sight to make them even less noticeable than before. After all, how is the famous proverb? Put it in the most visible place. Perhaps they took advantage of this trick, so that, despite the rules of Disney, they would still push through the original plot, the original idea. This is another theory that is more relevant to real life, but about which later. So, finally, here's the point. Now there will be arguments, divided into sections, in favor of my theory. All these arguments are built only on the plot of the animated series, are not a guess, and are built on pure logic. You can think of these arguments as plot flaws, but they fit perfectly into my theory. So, Bill is absolutely invulnerable. In the first episode of Weird Magic Dawn, we were clearly shown that Bill became almost a god in the territory of Gravity Falls. It is in his power to distort and transform material objects as he pleases, build pyramids in a second, make the inanimate alive, and control time. Bill was able to destroy the Time Child without much effort, which seems to be the very last resort on the lore of Gravity Falls, since no one has come to stop Bill except him. And by this, it can be judged that Bill at the time of Weird Magic Dawn is the most powerful creature in the Gravity Falls universe. Also, the absence of anyone else powerful cannot be attributed to their hypocrisy, for according to the child, if Bill does not stop, the very fabric of the universe will be destroyed. Yes, and Stanford himself wrote that after Bill gained physical form, he could not be stopped. What follows from the second argument, Bill couldn't be stopped by the robot house. Here, in my opinion, complete nonsense begins. Firstly, how could they even build a giant robot in the conditions of Weird Magic Dawn, when the very essence of the surrounding world is distorted? Secondly, did unicorn hair stop someone who could easily kill a Time Lord? Third, hurt a demigod with a material weapon? Seriously, Bill couldn't be stopped by the memory eraser. Bill is not a memory, it is a being. When Bill enters the brain, he does not move there himself. He is exactly what penetrates. With their metaphysical tentacles, if you will. The maximum that, in my opinion, a memory eraser could do is erase Bill's memory. In addition, the memory eraser was labeled Stanley Pines at the time of use. And if, according to the scriptwriters, Bill, at the moment of penetration into someone else's mind, becomes the memory of the victim, then the memory eraser would not have affected him, but would only erase the wall, since he erases the memory selectively. Selectivity was what McGucka was talking about, so it's part of the story. Besides, that trick of fooling Bill. Even at the first appearance, we were clearly given to understand that Bill sees not only the material world, but also the spiritual one. I will call him that. In general, he no longer sees bodies, but souls, which means he could not confuse the brothers, stupidly because of different clothes. Besides, Stan remembered everything afterwards anyway, so I don't understand what the point was. In addition, Bill used to be able to penetrate the minds of people without any transactions there, and now he is generally a god, which means another crazy fact in the treasury of crazy facts. In general, as you probably already understood, I consider most of what is happening in Weird Magic Dawn to be nonsense, which is actually logical. What follows from the fourth argument? Everything that happens after the first episode of Weird Magic Dawn in the story is nonsense. To be more precise, galoons of the main characters. Well, here is the most interesting. According to Bill, Mabel's sphere is the best trap he has ever created. Created to embody the most desired illusions of the victim, the orb is the perfect trap for members of the Circle of Prophecy. For some reason, Bill cannot destroy the representatives of the characters, otherwise he would have done it long ago. In short, my idea is that the heroes never got out of this sphere. This is indicated by the following facts. When the sphere is destroyed with the main characters, Waddles also jumps out of it, which was not in the sphere. After the destruction of the sphere, imaginary guys do not disappear, and they themselves wonder why they got into reality. After escaping from the sphere, everything began to improve dramatically for the main characters. The embodiment of a desired dream, not otherwise. What actually confirms this theory to the end? Dead Dipper is shackled. The action takes place on the territory of Gravity Falls, as we see the same hieroglyphs as in the cave from the first cutscene. The action takes place after the beginning and before the hypothetical end of Weird Magic Dawn, as we see a character who only existed then. In addition, in the screensavers, we see other characters of Weird Magic Dawn. If we take the intro as part of the plot, it turns out that Dipper died. Only a handful of people remained among the survivors, and the only threat to them was Bill Cipher, who replaced everyone with himself and his associates. If you look at it metaphorically, this means that now he has subjugated them all and he controls them, and not they them. The cutscene takes place during Weird Magic Dawn, so I can't say for sure, but it's definitely not the first episode of Weird Magic Dawn to have featured it for the first time, since the city was completely destroyed, and again, only a few survived. According to my estimates, this is the near future of Gravity Falls. P.S. Now about Hirsch himself. As I said, most likely this was an approximate initial plot, but using Hirsch's Easter eggs competently somehow bypassed Disney's censorship. Obviously, Hirsch had some kind of conflict with Disney, and quite a significant conflict. Otherwise, there would be no point in leaving the company that made you the most popular person in the animation industry for 2 years. Obviously, some restrictions were placed on Hirsch. After all, according to him from the blog, now he is working on an 18+ project. He didn't have that opportunity at Disney, which is probably why he left. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe and like.